I think these teams always play each other tightly, regardless of matchup, regardless of personnel.
And they just can't be down. I know it's easy to say, it's not rocket science, you can't be down early.
Yeah, it's hard to give a defense credit for beating the Eagles because that offense is just not that good.
You know, it's a championship defense. That's what they have. I mean, it's reminiscent of the 2000 Ravens.
Hello and welcome to Ain't That Our Ball. The wildcard round is over and we are on to the divisional round. We have 4 awesome matchups to talk about. I'm David Scott. Alongside me is NFL expert Ryan Sanudo. Ryan, we are in the thick of the playoffs now.
Yeah, we are. In the wildcard round, we had a lot of good games, and I'm expecting even better games for this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully it lives up to last weekend. But we're going to start with the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos. The #1 seed after their bye is in this matchup, and they're taking on who are maybe Super Bowl favorites this year, the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game. We're starting off with the Broncos defense, one of the best in the league. And the Bills, it's led by Josh Allen, James Cook, that rushing attack. Lots of injuries, though, for Buffalo, so that's what you have to monitor. But I think we're going to get a great game at Mile High. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of defense in this game, so if you're betting on the over-under, I think it's going to go under in this game.
Yeah, the Bills definitely do have a very shaky wide receiver core now with all those injuries. You said to get started with the Broncos defense, and it is among the best, maybe #2, just behind the Houston Texans. My biggest gripe with the Broncos this whole season has been their defense is so good. Can their offense hold them forward? That's what I said with the Texans going into the playoffs, and the Texans proved that they don't need offense. Defense is everything. So is that going to be a similar situation with the Broncos?
I mean, the Broncos defense I trust. I think they lead the league, or they're one of the leaders in sacks, so that really helps the squad. But you said it, the Broncos offense is very consistent. They don't really sustain drives. That's the thing. The defense is always on the field, and that leads to a team that has one of the fewest points per game in the playoffs, and then they're #1 seed, so that's pretty surprising. So I think it starts with Bo Nix. He has to play a full game. That's the thing that we haven't seen the whole year. I feel like it's 2 or 3 quarters of just inconsistent play from Bo Nix, and then he just turns it on in the fourth quarter. That can't happen in the playoffs. That's why I think the Bills come out with this upset win. I think the Bills were the underdog or the favorite in this game, and now it's leaning towards a little bit, for the Broncos just because of the injuries for Buffalo. They have 14 players on the injury report. So the Broncos, the offense is the one part I'm a little inconsistent with. I do like their playmakers, Sutton, Franklin, the run game, but it all starts with Bo Nix at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, it's worth noting the Broncos, since they are the 1 seed, this is going to be a home game for them, and they are exceptional when they're playing at home. Mile High is a real advantage for them. Now, the cold and things like that is obviously not going to hurt the Bills. They play in maybe the coldest environment in the NFL, but still, Mile High, there are some differences. It's called Mile High, so that you play a little bit differently there, but the Broncos play very well at home. I think they only had 1 loss at home this season. So that is going to be a huge advantage for them. But the Bills are still, seen as favorites, and it's probably because of the Josh Allen effect, even though he does not have all those wide receivers.
Yeah, Josh Allen, I think it just starts with him, the quarterback, Bo Nix, Josh Allen. I give the total edge to Josh Allen. I mean, he just moves the sticks no matter who he has at wide receiver. And I think it's going to start when it comes to Josh Allen throwing to the tight ends and the run game. I just feel like utilize Dalton Kincaid, utilize Dawson Knox. You have that depleted wide receiver core. Khalil Shakir is going to get his targets. I think he had 12 receptions against the Jaguars. So the Bills, they do have the injuries, but they still have a couple guys that they can throw to. And then obviously have James Cook. I think he's going to be much better. I know the Broncos defense is good against the run, but I'm not going to expect James Cook to have a dudded performance like he did against Jacksonville, like in Denver. So I think I give the slight edge to Buffalo just because of Josh Allen. I just think he's going to he's going to stamp his foot on this game. I just think that the way he plays the game of football, he doesn't turn the ball over. And that's the thing with the Broncos defense. They are a really good defense, one of the best in the league. They sack the quarterback, but the turnovers, they don't really get any turnovers. So that's a big thing in this game.
Yeah, I think the run game is going to be especially important in this game. James Cook has to get things going, especially when you have such a depleted wide receiver core. And at the same time, the Jaguars showed that the Bills' rush defense is especially vulnerable, and they got away from it at the second half of that game, which I think is why they lost that football game. The Broncos don't have an incredible running game. We've seen R.J. Harvey have his ups and downs in the second half of the season, but they should really try running the ball down the Bills' throat because they showed Travis Etienne had a spectacular game despite the loss. You can get R.J. Harvey going, you're going to have an advantage somewhere to hopefully open up some passing lanes for Bo Nix, make it a little easier for him. I still do agree with you. I do think the Bills have the edge in this matchup. It's mainly just because of Josh Allen. He's going to do whatever he can to win this football game. That's what he did against the Jaguars. I think the Broncos defense is very good, and they have a lot of advantages with the injuries and just the player personnel that they have. But it's hard to bet against Josh Allen.
It is hard to bet against Josh Allen. You said it best. I think the Broncos, in order for them to win, they have to utilize the run game. The Bills' defense has one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. So they're good against the pass, but they're god-awful against the run. So that's what they have to do in order to win. And then once you keep running the football, then you can utilize the play action with Bo Nix. He can move out of the pocket a little bit here and there. His tight end, Evan Ingram, can be open. The wide receivers can be open. So I think that could open up, some lanes for Bo Nix to possibly even run with the football too. So I think I still at the same time, Buffalo, I just feel like they're riding high coming off that win against the Jaguars. They played last week, and hey, Denver, they have a week off. That can be an advantage, but that can also be a disadvantage too. They might be a little rusty. I think they played a little bit, week 18 with their starters, but I don't even know if they really did either way.
They rested a lot of guys.
They rested a lot of guys, so it's been a long time since we've seen them. So I give the edge to Buffalo. I feel like it's just a classic 1 seed coming in a little cold against a Buffalo team who just beat a Jaguars team who is one of the best in the AFC.
All right, so it should be an exciting game. You're taking the Bills. I'm going to ride with you on this one. I'm going to go with the Bills, but wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos, as the 1 seed, get the thing done. But we're going to bet on the Bills here. Let's move on to the second matchup of the divisional round, which I think will be the closest and probably most intense divisional game. The third time they're meeting this season is the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. They've met twice this year. They've each won one of the matchups. The last one was very heavily in favor of the Seahawks. Despite it being a low-scoring game, they still had the advantage most of the time. Seahawks were the number 1 seed. The 49ers had a nice win over the Eagles last week. They're butting heads again. I think this one is really a toss-up, but what are you seeing here?
I don't think it's going to be as a toss-up as you say. I think the line, I know it's Vegas. Vegas can get things wrong, but it's almost 7, 8 points right now. And it's because the 49ers just have a lot of injuries to that team. And just like that, George Kittle is now out for the year. So that's massive. I get Jake Tunges is good, but he's not George Kittle. He doesn't run block like him. He doesn't catch the football like him. And then the yards after the catch. So I give not a big edge, but a good edge to the Seattle Seahawks. Just the way they play on defense. They're at home. The defense is one of the best in the NFC. And then the offense, they don't have to do too much, really. They can just run the football. And the 49ers defense, I just don't really like. Yes, they won the first matchup. They did upset the Eagles, but I feel like the Eagles, they do a lot of mistakes on their own. I feel like you're not going to do that with against the Seattle team. So I think the Seahawks, they have it. They have JSN. They have Sam Darnold. Who's not? I don't think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he has 25 touchdowns against 20 turnovers. But they could just ride with that defense. The defense is one of the best in the league against the 49ers team that, without George Kittle, I don't really love at the moment.
Worth noting, the 49ers are looking like they might get Fred Warner back for this matchup.
True.
They've activated him they've activated his practice window. There's no telling if he's going to be back, but he's at least practicing. So there's a chance. It's probably a slim chance, but there's a chance of, the Niners defense is certainly depleted, and they lost George Kittle, but they played well still without him in the second half of that football game, so I'm not going to count them out entirely. I think it's going to be a lot closer than you're saying. I think these teams always play each other tightly, regardless of matchup, regardless of personnel. It's just what happens when you get into one of those divisional matchups where the teams just are fighting to take each other down. Neither one of these teams wants to see the other one advance to the championship game, and I think that's going to play a huge part in this. Now, I still agree with you. I do think the Seahawks are the better team, and that's why they got the number 1 seed in the NFC. That offense is good. I'm not going to say elite because Sam Darnold is throwing the football, and while he did have a good year, he did also have those 20 turnovers that you talked about, but that defense, man,
it's nasty.
It can be suffocating. And against a 49ers offense that has been good but not great, I think they definitely have the edge there. I do like what Brock Purdy's done at the end of the season going into the playoffs. You got Christian McCaffrey. That's always an advantage, but no George Kittle and a wide receiver core that's just not that great. It is going to be really hard to get over the hump that is the Seahawks defense.
Yeah, the Seahawks love being at home, and that Mike McDonald defense is very ferocious, and they just can't be down. I know it's easy to say, it's not rocket science. You can't be down early against this team like the Seahawks because that defense, if they get a turnover too early, I don't love the 49ers' chances. But I agree. The 49ers' offense can still hold their own, and Kyle Shanahan, you can't really doubt him. I mean, he's a really good offensive-minded coach. And Christian McCaffrey you still have. And Brock Purdy, I got to give him credit. He's been good. I think people were starting to doubt him a little bit early on, coming off the injury. The Panthers game was really bad. But ever since then, he's been a good quarterback, very capable in this offense with Shanahan. But at the same time, the Seahawks, I just like their just all-around play. And I know they were, they could be rusty, just like what I was talking about with the Broncos. But I just got to hand it to that defense. I feel like just the way they, run things with Mike McDonald, the pass rush, they really good against the run too. So it's going to be really tough for the 49ers. It is a divisional game, so it can be close, like you said. But at the same time, the Seahawks, I just trust them a lot more than I do with the 49ers. Mainly, I really think that defense, I just don't like the 49ers defense a lot in this game. Fred Warner is iffy to come back. I just don't like their pass defense. I didn't see enough pass rush against Jalen Hurts. And I know they had their moments against Philly, but I think that was all on Philly, and they had a lot of mistakes, self-inflicted mistakes, and they've done it throughout the year.
Yeah, it's hard to give a defense credit for beating the Eagles because that offense is just not that good. We've seen that throughout this year, and then it eventually reared its head in the playoffs. The 49ers, I think Shanahan's going to have to really dig into his bag of tricks to figure out a way to get past this defense and stay close in this game or get a win. It's going to take a lot. We saw he pulled out some funky stuff last week. He's going to have to go right back to it this week and find a way to really deceive that Seahawks defense because just regular play calling is not going to do all that much. So we know Shanahan. We know he's a master, and he's going to figure something out. But it could get out of hand quickly, and that would really just totally annihilate any chance of coming back.
Yeah, Jawan Jennings, he only threw a passing touchdown, so like you said, with the bag of tricks. So stuff like that they could try to do against Seattle just to get them off their game. So I think that's what you might have to do against the Seattle defense that really sees things really clearly. They know what they're seeing on offense. So to get them off balance early on, that's what they might have to do to pull off the upset.
All right, well, it looks like we're both on the side of the Seahawks in this one. We're 2 for 2 agreeing with each other. But we'll move on to the Sunday games, and starting with that is the New England Patriots versus the Houston Texans. The Patriots, they pulled off their win over the Chargers last week. We both picked against them, I believe. And then the Houston Texans, good God, what a performance against the Steelers. That was just unreal.
Annihilation.
In my opinion, not looking good for the Patriots after that one.
Oh, not looking good. Drake May is obviously a great quarterback, but he even had his two turnovers against the Chargers defense, which is one of the best in the league. The Texans are the best in the league when it comes to defense. Just from top to bottom, you got that pass rush, Anderson, Hunter. They have really good guys on the outside with Stingley. So just such a great defense that, it's a championship defense. That's what they have. It's reminiscent of the 2000 Ravens. Yeah, I'm a Jets fan. I love those defenses from 09 to 11. They really look like that type of team that can just control a game from the get-go. So the Texans defense, you don't have to ask too much from their offense. It's just a turnover. Stroud can't do what he did against Pittsburgh against a team like the Patriots. So I really love the offense. It's just a matter defense. It's just a matter of can the offense just do their job. Stroud can't be throwing, bad passes, throwing into double, triple coverage. He can't be taking sacks because the Patriots defense, they are opportunistic. So that's the thing. So I think the Texans come away with this upset win. I know I was wrong last week. If you had me on if we did a show that day, I would have said Patriots because I just felt every day went by and I'm like, I don't see the Chargers doing this. I was a little bit dumb when I took the Chargers for that game. I think at the same time, though, Houston should come away with the upset.
Yeah, I picked against the Texans last week. I talked myself into the Steelers while we were having our show. But, man, I don't know if I could pick against the Texans the rest of the way at this point. I certainly think that defense is enough to stop any team in the league. And, yeah, I think the biggest question mark, which I've said throughout the process, is what can C.J. Stroud and that offense do? And we saw last week they cannot do much. It makes me wonder where rookie year C.J. Stroud is because last year and this year he has been just bad. That's the best way I can put it, and that especially showed itself in the Steelers game. 5 fumbles. I know the center play was not great. He was getting some bad snaps, but he was getting his hands on those snaps. You got to hold those in. 5 fumbles and 2 interceptions.
It can't happen.
Only the second quarterback to ever win a football game with 5 fumbles and at least 1 interception. The other quarterback was Eli Manning. That's not going to happen again. It's only happened twice in history. If you have a performance that bad, the Patriots are going to beat you. So he's got to clean things up. I think the Texans' play calling is going to start reflecting things to make it a little easier, more simple, more running plays, more check downs, simple passes, not passing into coverage. We want to keep things simple so that our defense can do the work because the defense is going to do the work. They scored most of the points in that game. As long as C.J. Stroud and the offense does not disrupt the momentum that the defense gives you, I don't think this is going to be that much of a contest for Houston.
And I don't really think Stroud was half bad in the regular season. I think he had 19 touchdowns, 8 picks, 7 picks around there. So he wasn't exactly bad. He just wasn't like something that like just wowed you. during the year. I just think that he just can't be taking sacks. Like you said, the fumbles, once you get sacked, the fumbles will occur. And then obviously they don't have Nico Collins in this game, so that's going to be really brutal. I'd be more confident in my pick if they had Nico Collins in this game. It's not 100%, but it's not looking like it. He does that. They do have limited time to get him ready for the game on Sunday. So I think what they're going to have to do, Dalton Schultz. I mean, he only led the team in receptions, so use him a lot. They have Christian Kirk they can use, and they have Hutchinson. They have guys that are capable. I mean, it's not going to be a good wide receiver core, but it's guys that can just move the sticks, And I know Christian Gonzalez is a really good corner for them, for the Patriots. But other than that, I think, the defense can, be troublesome here and there. And I think it was just the Chargers. I think the Chargers just beat themselves. I think they just didn't have any game plan against the Patriots. I trust the Houston Texans a little bit more. They used the running game a little bit in this game, like you said. And Dalton Schultz. I think Dalton Schultz is the guy in this game to get things done. So I think it's all up to C.J. Stroud at the end of the day. But then let's talk about the Patriots. I think it's a matter of Drake May. This defense can make, average quarterbacks look terrible, good quarterbacks look average, and great quarterbacks look, not that great. So I think this type of game, Drake May this is a big game for him. And I think the defense for Houston can make him look a little average in this game. So I think this could be, this is just a game Drake May has to learn from last week, turnovers. He can't do it again in this game.
You said this defense can make, great quarterbacks look average. I think this defense could absolutely neutralize Drake May. I think the Steelers' offensive line was better than what the Patriots have, and the Steelers' offensive line got completely destroyed. So you're going to have guys like Will Anderson just at Drake May's face every play of the game. I mean, there was a 50% pressure rate in that wild card game. It's going to be around the same. What can Drake May do against that? We know Drake May is a lot more mobile than Aaron Rodgers, so he's going to have to play outside the pocket a lot. He's going to have to escape the pocket when he sees that pressure coming. How is he going to play in those moments where he has to improvise? Much more confident in him doing that than I am in 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers doing that, and we saw that not work out well for the Steelers. So Drake May, can you create something when the pocket is collapsing? I think he can do that, but can he sustain that for 30 minutes of the football game? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, the Texans pass rush. I mean, the left side of the Patriots offensive line was getting beat. Will Campbell, the rookie, he had his good moments this year, but he just looked like a total rookie in the game against the Chargers. I think we saw instances with the Steelers where just the offensive line just came crashing down on Aaron Rodgers, and he got sacked by his own guys. So this is what you could see in this game, and Drake May couldn't do anything about it. He would just have to literally snap the ball and maybe like a quarterback run, in the middle, something like a quarterback draw, something like that. So stuff like that the Patriots might have to do. But I think the Texans they're so good. They just go man coverage. They don't have to, put blitzes because they know they could beat an opposing offensive line. So, and then they have probably a quarterback spy for Drake May just in case they notice, that he's going to be running with the football. So I think the Texans just tactically have it against the Patriots, a team that's, inexperienced. I mean, they, were only 3-14 last year. Yes, they have the experience this year in the regular season, but playoff time, I mean, it didn't look pretty against the Chargers, and it won't look pretty in this game against the Texans too.
All right, we're both siding with the Texans. We are 3 for 3 here on similar picks.
Oh, no.
Let's go to our last game of the divisional round. Yeah. It's going to be the Chicago Bears and the Los Angeles Rams. The Bears are at home after a crazy comeback win against the Packers, and the Rams are moving on after just barely skirting by against the Carolina Panthers. So I think this is one of the more intriguing matchups of a young up-and-coming team against, McVay's veteran presence who have been Super Bowl favorites for a long time of this season. I think you are going to be continuing on the Rams side here, right?
Oh, I'm living and dying with my Super Bowl pick. I have the Rams-Bills in the Super Bowl. So Matthew Stafford, yeah, he had his good moments against Carolina. The Rams defense struggled against Carolina. I feel like that was their kryptonite this season. So they're going against a team in the Bears that, they come off that really thrilling, epic, comeback victory against the Packers. So this should be a really exciting game. It's going to be really cold too. And Matthew Stafford historically is 1-9 in conditions that are going to be like this over the weekend. So this is going to be such a really good matchup. I think we're expecting points in this game. Obviously, the Bears defense I just don't like in this game. The secondary can get cooked. They'll be targeting Kyle Gordon the whole game, and the running game too. You can't forget about Kyren Williams too. So top to bottom, the Rams, I just love them on offense. The Bears, I did like them this year to win one game, but I think this is where it's probably going to end.
Yeah, I feel like I said before we started taping that I thought this was a toss-up, not a complete toss-up, that I was like 51% Rams, 49% Bears, but from the fact that we've gone 3 for 3 agreeing with each other, I'm just gonna go with the Bears here. I love Caleb Williams. I like what they've been doing all year, and I really had a lot of fun watching that game against Green Bay, the whole comeback, fourth quarter win. That was a lot of fun. So for the sake of switching things up a little bit, I'm gonna give the Bears side of this, and I do agree with the cold weather. I think that's going to make a huge impact. The home field advantage, they've played well at home. The Rams are coming into an environment that they're not familiar with. They play in a dome in Los Angeles. It's always warm and cozy for them. They're going into what could be blizzard conditions, 10 degrees or lower. It's going to be freezing. The Bears, they have that NFC North preparation. They're always playing in these cold conditions, these tough conditions. The ground is hard. When you hit the ground after getting tackled, it's going to hurt a lot more than usual. I think the Bears have a real chance here to move on to the championship game. It's not as far-fetched as I think some would make it seem. The Rams are a spectacular team. They've been spectacular all season. They almost lost to the Panthers in the wild card round. So I think that is not as much of a knock as it should be, but I think you look at some flaws there, and if the Panthers can hang 30-something on you and almost win the game, I think the Bears have as much of a chance as anyone to be the one who takes down the Rams.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be back and forth. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think there could be blowout spots in other matchups. I think the 49ers Seahawks could be a matchup where we could see a lopsided game. But this game, I think it's going to be close. I feel like the Bears are always in games. I mean, they were so good in one-score games, so I'll give them credit for that. But this is a team that they're not playing the Packers, a depleted team. And Matt LaFleur, they just weren't making the right play calls. They weren't making the right decisions, timeouts. I don't think we're going to see that from Sean McVay and company. And Shula, I really like a defensive coordinator too. They were only the top 10 in defense this year. And the Packers didn't have Micah Parsons either. So I'm going to give, a total edge to the Rams in this game. I just think their playoff experience. And just for the fact the Bears defense, I just don't like at all. I think they could be Swiss cheese in the secondary, and the pass rush can be non-existent a lot. So that can't fly when you're going against a team that has Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, the tight ends they can use. They can do 3 tight end sets, the run game, Blake Corum, Kyron Williams. The list goes on in terms of talent for the Rams. It would be a major shock, in my opinion, if the Rams were to lose this game. I would love it. I think it could be a Seahawks-Rams. We could be talking next week, Rams-Seahawks. I think that would be such a great matchup. We saw the amazing matchup that went into overtime earlier this year, so I expect the same to happen for next week.
Yeah, I don't think I would be majorly shocked if the Bears won this one. I think it's a lot closer than a lot of people would put it. I think the X factor is what can Caleb Williams do against a very good defense. You're right, the Packers were a bit depleted, but I think Caleb Williams has been great against good defenses in the past. They were good against the Eagles when they played them early in the year. They had other matchups where Caleb Williams has taken that step forward. I think throughout this entire year, he has just taken stride after stride after stride in his development as a top quarterback. I think Ben Johnson has really unlocked something in him, and the whole offense is really clicking around Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. So if they continue that, taking those step forwards, I would not be surprised to see a win here. I do think they're definitely the underdogs, and I am mainly picking them because you're picking the Rams. But at the same time, I really enjoy watching them, and I'm happy to pick the Bears in this one because I think it is more possible than people are making it out to be.
And you win either way. You have the Rams winning the Super Bowl this year, so you kind of win either way.
I feel like I might have to change that now if I'm picking the Bears here.
Yeah, but I just think, like you said it best with the Bears. They played good against good defenses. Caleb Williams, he's been making strides, like you said, as well. I really give a lot of credit to Ben Johnson, too. So what they have to do in order to beat this Rams team, I mean, we saw the Panthers succeed, so why not the Bears on offense? They would just have to use, all their weapons, in the run game. I think the rushing attack is the huge key part in this game. And you know what? They're down and they're still using the running game. But I just can't expect them to win when I saw what they were doing against Green Bay those first couple quarters. That cannot happen against the Rams team. They got away with it. I give them a lot of credit. They pulled together in the fourth quarter, 25 points in the fourth quarter. That's not an easy task. But at the same time, that can't happen those first 3 quarters. They were just so stagnant on offense. There was a lot of miscommunication. There were overthrown balls from Caleb Williams, too. So that can't happen against the Rams. I think maybe you can get away with it for 1 quarter, 2, 3. That can't happen. And the Rams, I just think they're too explosive.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We've gotten through our lineups. We did this last week, so we'll do it again. We're going to look ahead at the Super Bowl, make our Super Bowl picks. I believe yours is probably going to stay the same.
Yeah, I'm feeling good at the moment with my Rams Bills, so I don't have to change that. I think, Josh Allen, I think that's the one matchup I'm worried a little bit about. I think the Broncos have the capability to win the game, but the Rams, I'm full set on the Rams winning the Super Bowl this year.
All right, so in my Super Bowl, I had the Jaguars, so I am forced to make a change. I'm going to go with the Texans from the AFC.
Okay.
Their defense has fully convinced me, and I'm sure now that because I said that, they're going to lose.
The Patriots are going to win now.
And since I picked the Bears in that Bears-Rams one, I feel obligated to take the Rams out of my Super Bowl pick. So we'll go Bears. Let's just make it crazy.
Bear down, bear down.
We'll just go Bears, Texans to make it as wild as possible. And then next week when they both lose, I'll come back with something different. So
I'm holding it to you now. You're not going to say you picked the Rams in the Super Bowl now.
No, I didn't. I'm mainly doing it because I didn't want us to agree on all 4 games.
Yeah.
So give me some slack there.
Yeah.
But next week, I'm sure I'll have to change again because first round pick was not very good. We'll see how things play out in the divisional round, and maybe we'll both have to change our picks, or just me, probably just me.
Maybe just you.
But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Ain't That Our Ball. You can catch us every Thursday, and every Monday you can watch our tactics show, X's and O's. Please leave a like and subscribe, and let us know who you think is going to move on to the championship games.